Hello everyone and welcome back to the FIDE World Cup. We are in the second game of the quarterfinals with another very exciting game. It is Magnus Carlsen versus Gukesh, and Magnus defeated Gukesh with the black pieces, so now Gukesh needs a win to bounce back. As the title suggests, no spoilers. Let's see what happened here. Magnus has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to c5. Gukesh opts for the Sicilian defense, as one always should when one needs a win, and c3. Magnus goes for the Alpin variation. Although Magnus really loves to play the open Sicilian, he does go for the Alpin here. Probably he thought that maybe it was something that Gukesh was expecting a little bit less. So pawn to d5, e captures on d5, queen captures, and pawn to d4. The sort of main line of the Alpin. Knight to f6, we have knight to f3, and pawn to e6. Now we have bishop to e2, and now c captures on d4. We have c captures, knight to c6, and we have castles here. So those are all very standard moves being played many times. Bishop to e7, knight to c3 forces the queen to move back, and much like in the Scandinavian defense, you could bring the queen to d8, to a5, or my favorite, pawn to queen to d6, which is what Gukesh does. We have queen b5 now, pushes the queen further back, and now bishop to f4, threatening knight to c7 check. So knight to d5 attacks the bishop and defends the c7 square, and now bishop to g3. And the good thing about this position for Magnus is that white, on the very top level, white never lost a game playing this, and pretty much all the games where white did play this ended in a draw. There is one game, and I had to look very deep and far, from 1994, where Judith Polgar defeated Sergei Tivyakov with the white pieces from this position. But pretty much all of the other top tier games ended in a draw. So seemingly an easy to hold position. It will be quite a challenge for Gukesh to take down Magnus Carlsen from this position. We have castles, and now rook to c1. We have bishop to d7, nicely continuing development, and now knight back to c3. And here Gukesh goes for queen to b6. He says, all right, I'm going to put pressure on b2. What do you play here? And Magnus could decide for a couple of ideas here. Let's say knight to a4, attacks the queen, defends the b2 pawn. Let's say queen a5 and knight to c5, now attacks the b7 pawn and the bishop. And let's say bishop captures, pawn captures, and now queen captures on a2. Is this something that Magnus would want to play? Definitely, if he was playing a normal game in a normal tournament, where he would play something like bishop to d3, put some immense pressure on the black king. Maybe you can even later on remaneuver the rook to the attack. I mean, for the price of one pawn, you are getting quite a lot. But he only needs a draw this game, so he plays bishop to c4. And okay, knight back to f6 by Gukesh, and only now, knight to a4. We have queen to a5, and now knight to c5. So it's a similar position, but now Gukesh just brings the bishop back, bishop to c8. He doesn't want to trade, and okay, the bishop returns to the starting position, but of course he will play b6, kick away the knight, and then remaneuver his bishop to this long diagonal. Magnus plays a3, and by doing so, he is offering a pawn, but can Gukesh actually capture this pawn? Well, there are many great moves here, and I'm just going to show you two of them. Knight captures on d4 is one. So, okay, you can grab the pawn. What was Magnus's idea? Of course, the idea is pawn to b4. And now, after knight captures on f3 check, queen captures and queen to b6, he will play rook f to d1. And as you can see, Magnus has completed his development for the price of one pawn. He has b4 played, the knight is on an excellent square, bishop is excellent, the bishop can be remaneuvered to this diagonal. You will have constant pressure against the black king, all sorts of checkmating threats, easily to remaneuver the rooks to the king's side. So, I mean, for the price of one pawn, this is definitely something you play. So Gukesh not about to go for that. The move he could play is rook to d8, but it's such a funny looking move, because after bishop to d3, which is a direct counter to this rook to d8 move, now of course you cannot go after the pawn, because if you capture, then well, after rook captures, you're going to play bishop captures on h7 check and pick up the rook on d4. But what you can play is play this rook to d5 move. And now you are preparing queen to d8 with the rook on d5, and you will have excellent pressure on the d4 pawn. So this is how maybe Gukesh should have continued here. But after pawn to a3, he went back, queen to d8, and now Magnus, well, this is a perfect opportunity for him to play bishop back to a2 and remaneuver the bishop to b1 and have constant pressure against that black king. But he played bishop to b5 here instead, and when he played this, he was not happy with himself. I guess he saw Gukesh's next move here even before Gukesh played it, and he didn't even get up from the board. He was just, you know, in a thinking position, which is something that you don't do after you play a move. It's something you do after your opponent plays a move. But he obviously saw what Gukesh will play, and he started thinking preemptively. So queen to b6. This is the move, because queen to d8 was not the best move. So here, basically, Magnus gave Gukesh a chance to go back with tempo, and now force Magnus to react to this. Now, you either capture on c6, which doesn't look all that impressive, or you go to bishop to a4. And again, maybe too aggressive for white here, because again, Magnus only needs a draw here. You have to give up the b2 pawn. Now you play rook e1, you give up the a3 pawn. Now you do a rook lift, rook to e3. And now let's say queen to b4, and now look at what you would have to find all the way from that position. Knight to a6 attacks the queen. Of course, if you capture, then the knight on c6 will hang. So queen to a5, and now look at this. Knight to c7 attacks the rook here, and after rook to b8, look at this. Pawn to d5, and you can't even imagine what's happening here, but the black queen is being trapped. And you have to be very, very precise for that not to happen. Let's say rook to d8, and now what do you play? Of course, bishop captures on c6. You're gonna capture that knight, and after b captures, you're gonna play knight to e5. And what do you even play here? Bishop to b7. Otherwise, there's this massive fork here going after the two rooks and the queen. So you're gonna play bishop to b7. Now knight to c4 attacks the black queen, and what do you play? Queen to c5. Okay, then pawn to d6, and you have a passed pawn on d6. So okay, I mean, this is complete madness, but if you can find all of the nice moves, you can play bishop to a4. Of course, it's too much for a human to ask. So pawn to a4 by Magnus, and now comes rook to d8. And now queen to e2. Magnus is down to 27 minutes on the clock. Gukesh has 43 minutes on the clock. So Gukesh doing much better, and Magnus seemingly offering the d4 pawn. But where's the catch? Well, the catch is that if you capture it now, then knight captures, rook captures, and now knight to b3 attacks the rook. And where do you put the rook? Again, a funny line where the black queen might get trapped is that if you move the rook back, the queen has no squares. You're just going to attack the queen with pawn to a5, and the queen is trapped. You've taken away the d8 square from the black queen. And if you play something like rook to e4 attacking the white queen, look at this. Queen captures on e4. Beautiful stuff. Knight captures, and bishop to c7 now again traps the black queen, or rather wins back the queen. You're going to capture on b5, or somewhere he captures on b5, and you continue this position where black is up a pawn. Okay, white's pawn structure is a little bit messed up, but white is up the exchange, so definitely better position for white. So instead, Gukesh played rook to d5. Very nice move. Now you can again bring the queen back to d8, and Magnus plays bishop captures on c6. Looks a bit weird not waiting for the bishop to be provoked by a6, maybe improve the position a little bit first, but of course Magnus thought of that, and since he played it, I guess we have to listen to Magnus. So bishop captures on c6, queen captures, and now pawn to b3. We have rook back to d8, and now bishop to h4. Queen to d5 now, again putting more pressure on this d4 pawn, also on the b3 pawn if the knight here moves. So rook f to e1. Now, what's the idea behind this move? Can you play bishop captures on c5? That is the real question here. And why would you do it? Well, if you capture here, then rook captures on c5. What if you capture on b3? Is this anything? Yes, you want a pawn, but your pawn structure will get ruined. Bishop captures, pawn captures, rook h5, and already it's black who will be under attack, which is something you don't want. So here Gukesh plays b6, chases away the knight. We have knight to e4. Magnus down to 10 minutes on the clock. Gukesh has some half an hour on the clock, and he plays bishop to b7. And now look at this bishop queen going after that g2 pawn. This is a dream position for Gukesh. I believe that if Gukesh was offered to play this position before the first move was even played, that he would accept it. That I mean, he does have excellent winning chances here. The bishop queen combo is excellent. He does have the bishop pair, no apparent weaknesses in the position, and Magnus plays bishop captures on f6. Now, here Magnus played it because it's not just a good move, but also if Gukesh plays, for example, g captures on f6, if he wants to keep the bishop pair on the board, then Magnus can force a draw, and by doing so win the match. Rook to c7, attack the two bishops, and now after rook to d7, he plays knight to c3, and the queen is in sort of a perpetual queen hunt. Queen to d6, knight to b5 attacks the queen. queen d5, knight to c3, and so on. You will force a perpetual here. So after bishop captures on f6, bishop captures on f6 has to be played, and now Magnus plays knight captures on f6 with check and ruins Gukesh's king side. We have g captures on f6 and queen to e3 now. Magnus down to 5 minutes, and he still needs to make 11 more moves to reach time control. Gukesh has some 23 minutes on the clock, and he goes to rook 8 to c8. And now we have h3 by Magnus. Also a nice idea is queen f4, stopping queen to f5, but he doesn't mind that, and Gukesh plays it, of course. Queen to f5, knight to h2, trying to remaneuver the queen over to g4, where it will put a lot of pressure on the black king. And while Gukesh could prevent this with pawn to h5, he goes queen to g5 instead. He offers a queen trade here. So knight to g4, and now king to g7, guarding the f6 and the h6 squares. And here Magnus plays pawn to a5. Looks like a weird move to play because he was under 5 minutes on the clock, but he knows exactly what he's doing, and this is the top move recommended by the engine. He will either destroy black's queen side. If you capture, then the pawns are completely ruined. If you play queen captures, then queen to h6 will result in checkmate. So what can you do here? Well, the only way for Gukesh to keep the initiative going is pawn to h5. Point being that after captures and captures, the knight is still hanging, and after the knight moves, you will play rook captures on d4. And okay, rook captures, bishop captures, you will go to c1 with tempo. Rook to d5 now attacks the knight, and once we trade here, let's say a captures on b6, a captures, and knight to c4, you will play rook to c5, and he keeps the tension going with some threats of pawn to b5. But okay, after a5, queen captures on e3 was played. Gukesh trades queens, and now knight captures on e3. Magnus doesn't play f captures on e3. This seemingly stops rook captures on e4, but his position will be a bit more passive. Because b captures on a5, okay, the pawn structure is messed up, but it's still up a pawn in an endgame. And after you try to bring the knight into the game, then let's say rook captures on c1, rook captures, and rook to c8. Trades off everything, captures, and you have a bishop and the knight being, bishop against the knight being up a pawn, so it will be Gukesh fighting for the win here. So Magnus cannot allow this. He plays knight captures on e3, and okay, rook captures on d4, and now rook captures on c8. Bishop captures, and now rook to c1. It's much easier to play with, of course, the rook still being on the board. Bishop to d7, and now rook to c7, putting pressure on the a7 pawn. B captures on a5, rook captures on a7, and now pawn to a4, trading off everything on the queen side. B captures, we have bishop captures, and now Magnus just plays rook to a5. And here you have this position where Gukesh is up a pawn, but it's 4 against 3 on the king side, and it's not going to be easy to convert this. But of course, Gukesh is the one that will have to try if he's to beat Magnus with black and force tie breaks. So here we have king to g6 and g4 by Magnus, bishop to c6, and rook to c5. Attacks the bishop, we have bishop to e4, and now king to h2. So how can Gukesh win this? Well, not easily. Okay, he does have the bishop here, but g4 has been played, and unless you can imagine a position where the king comes to h4 and the rook somehow checkmates the white king, you're not going to win by checkmate. So maybe the more you trade down, the easier it's going to be to hold this for Magnus. So basically you win this by playing the absolute strongest move every move until the end of the game, and you hope that Magnus doesn't. So rook to d3, we have king to g3, and now pawn to f5. Magnus plays king to f4, we have pawn to f6, and now g captures on f5 with check. Bishop captures, and now knight captures on f5. We have e captures on f5, and now pawn to f3. And okay, now Gukesh is still up a pawn, but it's a doubled f pawn and not much to play for here. Rook to d4 check was played, king to g3, we have king to g5, and now rook to c2. We have pawn to h5, trying to put pressure on Magnus's king, but just rook to a2. We have pawn to f4 with check, king to g2, and now king to h4. So Gukesh did win a lot of space with his king here on the king side, but if you cannot kick away the white king, you cannot win the pawns here, and as long as this rook is controlling the second rank, you can never kick away the white king, and that's a problem for Gukesh. Even though Magnus does not believe in fortresses, he created one for himself here. King to h2, this is not objectively a fortress. A fortress would mean that one player is significantly down on material and the other player is able to hold an endgame due to a fortress, but this is not, well, literally a fortress. So rook to d7, we have rook to b2, and now rook to d3. Trying something, but just king to g2. We have king to g5. Gukesh will try to circle around with the king, but just rook b5 check. We have f5, rook goes back to b2, of course not allowing any checks. King to f6, and now pawn to h4, taking away the g5 square from Gukesh's king. And with this pawn guarding e4 and this pawn guarding g5, that's all there is to this game. If you cannot deliver check and your king cannot approach, there's no way to even try for a win here. King to e5 was played, king to f2, and he was in this position on move 59 that the players agreed to a draw, as there is nothing more to be done here. So that's it. Gukesh lost the first game, he draws the second one, and that means Magnus Carlsen is through to the semifinals, where he will face none other than Nijat Abbasov, who we've just seen how he completely crushed Vidit with that London system. So it's going to be incredible. Magnus Carlsen versus the dark horse Nijat Abbasov in the semifinals of the FIDE World Cup. It's going to be very, very interesting. So the other games were still being played while I was recording this. Once they are done, I will probably show them, as it seems that we will have a lot of decisive games this round. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed. A big congratulations to Magnus. Tough break for Gukesh, but what are you gonna do? You know, he who faces Magnus often perishes. So yeah, I would like to thank Srinivas Kashyap, Yoon Young, Mario Encinosa, Michael Shui, and David Kimura for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE World Cup until it finishes. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.